Buenas tardes, chicos. Este es el repaso para el quiz sobre matched. We're going to quickly go over how to do subjunctive with matched again in order to prepare you for the quiz tomorrow. We're going to very quickly go through the different situations that you would see on the quiz or in general and what you should do when you see them. The first thing that you might see is if the beginning of your sentence gives you a verb in pretérito. So for example, you might see something like yo estudié hasta que yo blank, and they want you to conjugate aprender la información. So what you should remember is that if you are given pretérito in the beginning part of your sentence, then you're going to be using pretérito in the second part of your sentence. On your quiz tomorrow, I won't be asking you to write out pretérito conjugations. You will, however, need to realize when you need to use it, and you will have to be able to pick it out in multiple choice. So if you had the sentence, yo estudié, here's your first pretérito right here. And you know you need a pretérito coming up in your second verb. Yo estudié hasta que yo aprendí la información. The second situation you might have is if you have future tense as the first part of your verb. For example, you might have something like yo me bañaré. I will take a shower. Tan pronto como yo. And the verb I'm going to be working with, regresar del gimnasio. Since we know that we use matched when we are talking about events that have not happened yet, since I'm referring to the future, I know that I am going to be using subjunctive because a future event clearly has not happened yet. So anytime you have future in the first part of your sentence, you're going to be using subjunctive in the second part. So if you see futuro, you know automatically that you're going to be using subjuntivo in the second part. So in my example sentence, since I have yo me bañaré as my first verb, that's future, I know that I'm going to be dealing with subjunctive, and I'm going to put yo regrese from my second verb. Something that's very similar to the future is if I have ir plus a plus infinitive, since that was the first way you ever learned how to deal with future. Okay, so if you had something like tú vas a vivir en Nueva York tan pronto como tú terminar la escuela. Again, we're dealing with something that hasn't happened yet, okay? Because I'm saying you are going to live in New York as soon as you finish school, okay? Anytime I have ir plus a plus infinitive in my first verb, I'm going to be using subjunctive in my second verb. So here I have vas a vivir, okay, my ir plus a plus infinitive construction, and then I'm going to be using subjunctive for my second one, so I would be writing termines. My next situation where I'm always going to be using subjunctive is if I have a command form as my first verb. So if I said something like, saquen la basura en cuanto llegar a la casa, I would remember that when I'm commanding somebody, I am clearly talking about an event that has not happened yet, because if I'm commanding somebody to do something, they haven't done it for me yet, so I need subjunctive, okay? Anytime I have a command form as my first verb, I'm going to be using subjunctive as my second verb. So since here I have saquen as my command, okay, that's my ustedes form as a command. I'm saying, you guys, take out the trash as soon as you get home. Okay, so since I didn't give you another subject, it's fair to assume that I can use the same subject to conjugate my second verb. I'm going to be using subjunctive. I do need to remember that llegar has that U after the G. When your first verb is in regular present tense, then you have to pay special attention to your sentence to decide if you're going to be using subjunctive as your second verb or regular present tense as your second verb. Let's take a look at when you would be using subjunctive. If your first verb is in regular present tense, and then you are referring to an event that has not yet happened, you would need subjunctive as your second verb. So if you said something like, yo quiero ir al cine, aunque nadie ir conmigo, okay, my first verb is in regular present. Okay, my event hasn't happened yet. Okay, so then my second verb is going to go in subjunctive, right? I'm saying I want to go to the movies even though nobody is going with me. Okay, so since I'm using subjunctive, my second verb is going to be vaya. If your first verb's in regular present tense, but you are referring to something that is a routine or something that has happened before, then you're not going to use subjunctive for your second verb. You would just use regular present tense. You're going to be looking for words like siempre or todos los días or cada día, anything that indicates some sort of routine or repeated action or that this action has taken place before. So for example, yo siempre miro televisión mientras yo hacer mi tarea. Okay, so I have regular present tense. And then I have siempre. Oops. Plus a routine. That means I'm just going to use regular present tense for my second verb as well. So I'm going to say, yo siempre miro televisión mientras yo hago mi tarea. With escapa, we had to worry about what we would do if we didn't have K. But with the matched terms, there's only two terms that we need to worry about that with. So we only need to be concerned with hasta and después de. If you have these two without the K, then you're going to follow them with the infinitive. Okay, so for example, yo estudio hasta aprender todo. Okay, it's only these two. Okay, if you don't have K for the other matched expressions, it doesn't matter. They don't need K. They don't have K anyway. Okay, so don't get confused. It's only these two where we need to worry about whether or not they have K, and we would be using infinitive with them if they didn't have K. All right, so please don't get confused with that. Okay? Chicos, study hard. Good luck. Hasta mañana.